Welcome everyone to another live session. Oscar from StressFit. Today we are here to discuss a powerful subject, a powerful subject from the book Becoming Supernatural. Powerful insights, and just really decipher some of the chapters throughout the book. Last week we did part 1, and we got to chapter 6. It is a very powerful conversation. Welcome Fabre. Welcome Beth. Hey Sunny. And today what we're doing is we're just going to be continuing on chapter by chapter and just summarizing and discussing the insights learned on Becoming Supernatural. So many different subjects that revolve around just self-development, self-awareness, and just growth, personal growth when it comes to tuning into your potential, tuning into the energetic state, which is the essence and expression of your truth, and becoming the most vibrant version of yourself. Okay, so we'll get straight into it because there's a lot to cover. We're on chapter 6. It says case studies, living examples of the truth. So I'm going to bring this back to chapter 1 when the case study, and I did mention this, but nevertheless, it's always good to go over it and reinforce what we've learned. You had many different cases in the book, but one that's always stuck with me is the case study from chapter 1 from Annie Williams. Here was this lady that throughout her life, everything was going fine. She had a very, really nice life, 2 kids, husband, and then one day her husband commits suicide, and this shocks the body, right? It shocked her physiological system, it shocked her nervous system. Hey, Lisa, thanks for tuning in. And through that suffering, she started to accumulate stressful energy, and this stressful energy created this uneasiness, which then led to dis-ease, and she started to manifest all these different types of illnesses, and she got very sick, and she lost pretty much everything. And then in a moment of epiphany, she realized that she had to do the work. It wasn't one of these things where she was just going to get better. Obviously, by being a student of Dr. Joe Dispenza, she realized and she knew that there was a formula into becoming or breaking the habit of being yourself, which is then creating a new personality, which then leads to a new personal reality. So then she disconnected from her environment. She disconnected from all the triggers and stimulus that reinforced her existing personality, which was responsible for her current personal reality, which was manifesting all these illnesses and diseases. So she did that, and she started to go within herself and just love and create this beautiful, abundant energy. She started to really visualize herself in a better space. She started to have different support systems that reinforced love within her body. She started to do the work. She started to listen to a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and just filling her container with a lot of information that inspired her to be the best version of herself. And throughout this process, she started to get better. She started to get better. She started to get better. And she also knew how epigenetics worked. So she knew that we have the power to release different genetic expressions through lifestyle, nutrition, and the most important one, in my opinion, is perception. And through her perception, she started to change her environment by looking at it differently. And then she started to change her perception on how she visualized and looked within herself. And she started, if you scan your environment to be threatening and anxious, and that's the signals you're giving the body. If you scan your environment to be loving and abundant, then they're the signals you're giving your body. She realized that, and just through time and just through the process, she started to get well and cured herself from all the different types of illnesses. And then she goes and becomes a associate of the Dr. Joe Dispenza's organization, and then she just ends up running this amazing business, and her life just becomes this beautiful fairy tale. But the insight from here is that she, even though her environment and circumstance all gave her the reason and motivation to feel down and in this state of suffering, she was able to go within herself and create a new vibrational frequency, create a new state of being, which then transcended her current situation. This led to her becoming a creator. That is chapter 6. Now, before we go on, I just want to catch up on some of the comments. Sunny says, just sent this to my, let me read this. Just sent this to my Nojo, call you soon, having a rest before I was with her alone when she left this earth. My forehead on her forehead, hand on her heart with a nose opal underneath my hand. Beautiful scarf she was wearing, dinner and draped. My condolences, Sunny. I know we touched up on this yesterday. Really, 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 yeah, sorry that your mum's passed away. And remember, it's never a goodbye. It's always a bye for now. So you know that. And I think, like we said yesterday, it's very important that now your thoughts, your energy towards your mum's transition is all about ushering her in peace, ushering her through the process in peace. And just really, she's going to be very, as an energy, she's going to be very sensitive to especially her family members' energy now. So it's important, I think, that the whole family now get together. And I'm sure, obviously, you guys are, and just encouraging her just to be in peace and that you guys are going to be okay. And she's done a wonderful job and everything's going to be okay. And that way it's going to allow her to transition a lot more peacefully. And you got to be strong, you got to be strong. And from what you've told us yesterday, it was her time, and we have to embrace that. So my condolences, and you got the whole community behind you, Sunny. And yeah, thank you for opening and sharing your personal life with us, and we support you all the way. So thank you for that. Okay, moving along. Chapter 7, Heart Intelligence. Since our human ancestors first began etching their histories upon cave walls and stone tablets, like a thread through the needle of time, the heart has appeared as a symbol that represents health, wisdom, intuition, guidance, and higher intelligence. The ancient Egyptians, who referred to the heart as Ib, believed that the heart, rather than the brain, was the center of life and the source of human wisdom. We know that the heart is an independent organ that processes its own information. It has its own nervous system, over 70,000 neurons. So that gives it the ability to process information, right? It produces vasopressin, oxytocin, a lot of these neurotransmitters that give us this euphoric state, especially oxytocin, which also helps bonding with your partner and just your loved ones as well. So it's a really nice, loving chemical. So the heart has this intelligence, and it produces over 5,000 more amounts. It produces more than 5,000 times more magnetic energy than the brain. And through the heart's magnetic energy and the brain's electric energy, it produces this electromagnetic field. And we know through the work of Lynn McTaggart that the heart can actually extend out to infinite. And we don't really have the instruments to measure how far the heart can go, because it's in this intangible, etherical state. And through intention, we can use this energy through the heart, and we can really start to send our energy towards other people and other beings and other spaces if we tune in to the heart. And it's no different from when you walk into a room and you feel everyone's vibe. Before the attention goes into the realm of verbalization, there is this innate ability to feel people's vibration. I like that person's vibe. I don't like that person's vibe, because you can feel it, because your heart the field of the heart is interacting with other fields. And when someone's anxious and edgy, and when someone's in harmony and calm, you can just feel that. So the heart has this intelligence. It's just more than a symbol for love. It is actually it's a powerhouse for emotional intelligence, feeling with your heart. And I think that it communicates beyond space and time, and it has the ability to give you this intuitive response in life as well. I do believe, through the work that the Heart Math Institution has done, that the heart is almost plugged into this field, and it can access information from the field which transcends physical time. So you know things without even knowing things, if that makes sense, which is a bit of a paradox, but you just know when to move out of the way before danger comes, so to speak. It's just this intuitive aspect that the heart is plugged into. And I gave you guys some examples a while ago that the heart can actually, and I'll go over this example again, you've probably heard it before, is that the Heart Math Institution, they did this experiment where they plugged people's hearts, like they've got an ECG, which is a electrocardiograph machine, ECG. Yep. And then they got all the electrodes, put it to the heart, and then they hooked it up to the instruments, and they could see the different algorithms in the heart. And then they plugged them into a computer. They sat down all these participants in this case study in front of a computer, and they had different slides. The slides would either represent love or fear. Loving slides would have pictures of weddings, couples, puppies, kittens, just loving things. And fearful slides would have pictures of snakes and dead bodies and, sharks with their mouth open and just all sorts of horrific things. Now, when you visually see a slide that represents a loving vibe, you can actually feel that the heart starts to feel that, right? And when you look at a slide that's very fearful of like a dead body or a snake, you can actually feel that. And they can see the different algorithms depending on the slides. But the most unique thing about this experiment was around 6 seconds before the slide would come on the screen, the heart would already start showing the algorithm to represent whether it was a loving slide or a fearful slide. So that means 6 seconds prior to a loving slide coming on the screen, because they're randomly generated. So the participant could not know what slide was going to come next, but the heart would know that this is a loving slide. So before a picture of a snake with its fangs out would come on the screen to invoke this fearful state, the heart would go into this algorithm that represented fear. So what does that mean? What does that mean? What can we take away from this experiment? And you guys can find out more on the Heart Math Institution, which are big in researching the heart intelligence, is that the heart is plugged into this intuitive state, and it can access information from the field. And in this field, there is no time. We understand time to be linear, and really the time is only the measurement of the past and the future. But when you go into this quantum state, there is no time. There is no time, and the heart is plugged into this state, which is phenomenal. That's why sometimes you have that intuitive, you have that intuitive instinct to know things without experiencing things, or to know things before actually knowing things, right? It's just like, no, I don't want to go there. Don't feel good about that. So there's a lot of research behind it. It's not just some hoo-ha science. The heart is very intelligent. And when we can start to connect with the heart and really invoke this energy in the heart, it starts to release all these beautiful neurotransmitters that make you feel good and that create this really, really healing state in the body. So just by doing a heart meditation, we did one yesterday, you can start to really radiate not only this energetic state, but the physiological response in the body to heal the body, the power of the heart. Chapter 8, Mind Movies Kaleidoscope. Okay, now we've on the Stress Fit group, we've actually got this in point form, and you guys can access that. Elena, one of our admins, can post that up if you guys are interested. But what a mind movie is, and this works, right? Because there's a lot of people that have done it and that swear by it, and a few case studies in the book. A mind movie is when you get slides, almost like a vision board, slides of what you want to achieve in the future. You might have slides of your house, a nice car, a relationship, or you might have slides of health. Not like you can have slides that represent success. You might have slides that represent health, of you healthy, vibrant, good food, exercise, whatever it is. And you might have slides of something else that you're inspired by. So you start to look at these slides visually, looking at these slides like a movie, slide by slide by slide. Once you memorize the slides, you will then associate a song with the slides, right? So now you attach like a really nice song that you enjoy, and you put that with the slides. So you keep on now, you keep watching the slides with the song, and you keep watching it, you keep watching it. And now that's starting to program the brain to be in tune with this visual experience projection of this slideshow of what you want to create in your life. And there's music, associated with it. So we're programming and eliciting a certain response in the body through music and this slide. But once you've memorized it, you don't need the slides anymore. You just start playing the music before you sleep, in the morning, in the car, and that song is going to then start stimulating that part of your brain, because you're going to automatically remember the slides. And it's not just about remembering the slides. You obviously have to embody the experience as if you were actually, in that space you want to attract, whether it's health, abundance. You have to really act and feel abundant. You have to feel success. How can you be? If you want success, you have to be success. If you want love, you have to be love. You can't give someone love unless you have love in your heart. And the same applies for success. If you truly want to be successful, success is a mindset. Ask anyone that is truly successful. It is a mindset. It's got nothing to do with money. Money is an outcome of a successful mindset, right? So when we start to then embody that feeling, and the music helps trigger the slides and the visual cortex, we start to become more powerful and more precise with our projection in what we want to create as creators. This is what a mind movie is. This is what a mind movie is. And if you guys are interested, we've actually written this down on a PDF format that we have access to through Google Docs, that we can give you access. And it shows you how to do the slides and the music and everything. And it's part of in our channel in the Stressfit group, if you're interested. And that really does give, it's no different from a vision board, but it's more, I guess, it's more practical, right? Because you can listen to the song whenever you want, but it depends how serious and how deep you want to go with this. But there are case studies and people that have achieved, so like they've achieved one slide and now they're doing another slide, and then they want to do another slide because it works. It actually works if you believe and embrace, and you just try it. Try for yourself. So that's what chapter 8 is. It goes into it. In the process, don't analyze the information they are being exposed to. If the person doesn't analyze the information they are being exposed to, they are likely to accept, believe, and surrender to it because there is no analytical mind or filter. It makes logical sense then that the more suggestible you are, the less analytical you are. The opposite is also true. The more analytical you are, the less suggestible you are to information. Therefore, it is less likely that your brain will be in an alpha wave brain state. Okay, so when we're relaxed and we're suggestible and we're embracing this experience through our mind movie, like we're there, we're smiling, we're feeling it, we've got the music playing, we are priming the brain to come into alignment with a certain outcome. You're priming the brain, right? You're fine-tuning the brain. You're using these tools to go within your subconscious and program it. And if you realize the power of the subconscious, it is so powerful. Too often we sit there and mentally rehearse what we don't want. Think about it. I don't have this. I want this. I want that. And when we want and desire and crave, it's acting from a place of lack because you don't have it. I don't have that holiday. I want a holiday. I want $1 million. I want a relationship. If you want a relationship, a loving relationship, you're acting from a place where you don't have one. And that projection going out is just validating that to give you more lack, right? But if you can embrace that you have a loving relationship, and it's not it's what the relationship gives you, right? A relationship gives you love. But if you can embrace love in your heart, people will gravitate towards that. People will gravitate towards that because you're a loving person, and people are naturally attracted to loving people, right? It's an energy that they're attracted to. If you want success, then you're embodying this successful energy, and you've got the mind movie. You're listening to the music that then triggers off the certain circuitry systems in the brain that's then triggering off this physiological response. But you're embracing it as well. You're fine-tuning your body. And we, as human beings, we're conductors of energy. We have transmitters. We're transmitting energy, right? Because I'm transmitting energy to you now, right? Through my expression. And you guys are receiving that information. You're receiving it. So there's a transmitter and there's an antenna all over your body and your senses that receive this information. We transmit and receive information. But if you're transmitting information out there that doesn't represent your highest potential, and it's not fine-tuned and it's not coherent, then you're not as powerful as a version of yourself that is fine-tuning that information, that has a clear visual, clear visualization of what you want, but you're also embodying that energy, and that presence is going out. It just makes you a more empowered being, a more magnetized being, and you really got to embrace it and try it in your own life before you just brush it off. Very powerful. And look, I don't think Dr. Joe Dispenza would be mentioning it in his book if it didn't work, right? So you're tuning into the quantum field. So something to check out our group and just post up in the feed that you're interested in that, and we will send you that information through a Google Doc, which is shared with everyone. Chapter 9, walking meditation. In many ways, the standing and walking meditation are just like the seated ones. You begin standing still, closing your eyes, and resting your attention in your heart, all the while slowing down your breath and breathing in and out of this center. When you feel heart-centered, just as you do in your seated meditations, you begin cultivating elevated emotions that connect to your future. This is, if you just wait to practice when you meditate, it's not as powerful as if you're continuously reminding yourself to be in a meditative state. Now, when I say meditative in this context, I mean just being a creator. Because if the language of the universe is energy, and I truly do believe that, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well, then every moment you're transmitting energy out into the field. I think we can all agree on that. Every moment. And the moment never changes. The moment is always the same. It's one moment stretched out into eternity. Object change, people change, environment changes, your thoughts change, your body, everything changes, but it's all in that moment, it's all in that space. If you can remind yourself through self-awareness to get into this meditative state when you're not meditating. If you're driving a car, you turn off your TV 10 minutes early. Before you watch TV, you give yourself 10 minutes. Before you leave the house, you give yourself 5 minutes. Before you jump out of the car, you give yourself 10 breaths. Anything that starts to inject different programs in the brain, you start to form these habits. Just little tweaks that are easy to sustain. Right, just 10 minutes before bed, or as soon as you walk out the door, or you walk to your next destination, you start to walk into your new reality, and you start to feel it, you start to embrace it, and you keep practicing this. Because too often between point A and point B, we're consumed by our thoughts. We're so consumed that it's, on average, we think 60,000 thoughts per day, right? On average, they suggest. And 90% of those thoughts are redundant and recurring. And between 6 to 10 seconds, we're continuously getting distracted. So that doesn't leave very much time for you to be in your zone, in your space creating. We're always just hijacked by this egocentric state, and we're consumed in this beta state, which is this wakeful state with just a lot of noise. But if you can remind yourself while you're walking, while you're driving, just to feel abundance, and sometimes listening to a good song, sometimes I put on some 80s music does it for me. Funny enough. And some 80s music, it just makes me feel good, because music was different back then. It just made you feel good, in my opinion. So when you listen to a certain 80s song, for me anyway, that could be something different for you. It just makes you feel good. I think I listened to the other day, I listened to Jump by the Pointer Sisters. Was it the Pointer Sisters? That old school 80s beat, Jump. You know which one I'm talking about. That makes me feel good. That's actually on my Spotify list at the gym. And that's an uplifting, vibrant track. It just makes my soul feel good. So when I put that on, I just feel this really good energy. And then when it turns off, I still kind of try and cultivate that energy, because my being's been lifted. That's triggered this higher vibrational state. And you just try and cultivate that for as long as you can, instead of just driving like a zombie, and just being absolutely sabotaged and imprisoned by these thoughts. hijack it, take control, and just give yourself good vibrational energy so you can always uplift your being. And when you walk out that door, walk into your new reality. Walk, you have to walk to a different beat of the drum. If you're always walking to the same beat, it doesn't work. You got to be different, because we know a new personality creates a new personal reality. You cannot accept change being the same person that you are today, because the person you are today is responsible for the reality that you're in. And if you're not happy, completely happy with the reality that you're in, then something needs to change. You got to change your thoughts. You got to change your behaviors. You got to change your actions. You got to change. You got to change. If you don't change, you're going to get the same outcome. And what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So in a way, I think maybe we're all a little bit insane. Just maybe. Lisa says exactly, Oscar. I keep scrolling down. I hated walking up and down the stairs as my propoised discs. I think it's prolapsed discs hurt so much in my back in a couple of weeks. Keep scrolling down. Sorry, a couple of weeks. I kept saying bucket. I started saying Satnam. Yes, exactly. So you were able to transverse that energy and really change the physiological response. And that reminds me of that lady that had the trauma, that tumor in her brain, right? And I think I've told you this story before. This lady had a tumor in her brain, and it just really upset her, obviously, and she was really, really, really upset. And she fell into this victimization mindset, as you do, and everything in her life had changed, and her vision and everything of what she wanted to live like had all now been compromised, and everything has just been turned upside down. One day, and obviously I'm really paraphrasing and bringing this to a short story. One day, in a moment of epiphany, she came home and she was like, "Oh, why did this happen to me? Why did I?" And she was just like, "Why?" And then she had this epiphany, and she said, all this time, I've been sending negative energy to my tumor. I've been complaining. I've been suffering. I've been feeling guilty. I've been resentful. I've been creating this hostile environment. I've been this victim, and I've just been sending it all this negative energy. But this tumor has taught me how to love, how precious life is, how valuable life is. It's brought me closer to my family. It's made me really appreciate every moment. It's been a great teacher. So from that moment, she started sending it love, saying, "Thank you. Thank you for teaching me. Thank you, thank you, thank you." And she changed the feedback loops to the tumor, the neural feedback loops, because every thought produces a chemical. So now each time she's thinking about the tumor, these new thoughts that are sending it love, it's all sending a different chemistry to that tumor. And you know what I'm going to say next. 1 year later, she had a brain scan and she was completely healed. It's a true story. I do believe it 110%. I'm not making it up, because when I was watching this documentary, I don't think this lady was lying, because she seemed too authentic. So I do believe that, and maybe that's my placebo, and maybe it's not your placebo, but that's my placebo. And if it's your placebo, then that is very powerful, because no one else can tell you anything different, right? Because that's what you believe, and no one can go against that, because that is your belief. So if you truly believe that, and this goes back to what Lisa said, if you're doing something and it's painful, complaining about it is just going to make it worse. If you're going to do something, do it with style, do it with confidence, do it with good energy, do it with the enthusiasm that just understand, do it from a level to understand, do it from a level of health, right? And just be be optimistic about it, even though it's hard, because you got to do what you got to do. Like, you're stuck doing that experience, and then you got a choice just to do it suffering or do it being positive. And I think finding a way being positive, as hard that it is going to make you a creator, and it's going to change the physiological response in the body. And that's what good health is. And that's what I think people that have mastered their emotions, they will always do their best to be their best and to make the best out of every situation, even when they're inconvenienced. And that's a big thing, because when you feel inconvenienced and you still act at the service for others, I think, and I've mentioned this before, I think that's such a beautiful place of growth. And that also translates to anything that you're doing. If you feel inconvenienced, but you're still maintaining a positive attitude, I think you're an absolute winner in my book, and I think that's one of the hardest things to program in our minds, because when we feel inconvenience, we're triggered to react. We're triggered to feel suffering. We're triggered to feel all these different things. But even in that moment, you're still teaching your mind to be positive. I mean, you can't get more emotional resilient than that, right? Fake it till you make it. Absolutely. Absolutely, it's going to be hard. It's not easy. And it reminds me of the story of look, the science of reprogramming your brain. And I summarize this from one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's events. Let's say if you read a book, How to Be Compassionate, or How to Be Forgiving, How to Be Loving. Just say you've got a new book, How to Be Compassionate. You're reading it. You read it once, and you're not a compassionate person. You're an angry person. You get shitty, and you're a little bit frustrated, and you tend to worry a lot, and you're not the best version of yourself. But you read this book. And then once you read this book, you're like, oh my God, I've got to be compassionate. I've got to be more loving. And then you read it again, and you reinforce the neural networks in your brain, and that teaches you that it's better to be more loving. It's more healthier for the body. I can enjoy my moment with other people. People like me and are attracted to me when I'm more loving. So all these things are making sense to you. Now you go into your office. You go into your office to work, and you're like, hey, you should be doing this. And hey, maybe you should change your attitude and be more loving. And hey, I would do this. And you start dishing out all this advice and insight, and everyone's like, wow, who is this new person? Oscar's like completely different now, and he's so positive. And next thing you know, everyone's knocking on your door asking for advice because you've got all this great knowledge, and you're walking the walk, you're talking the talk, and you're like preaching and teaching, and everyone's loving this new vibration you're bringing into the workplace. And this is you now reprogramming your brain, right? Because you're now gaining the information, and that information has now started to acquire and create new neural networks, right? Networks in the brain that represent this new information. And the more you talk it, walk it, fake it, doesn't matter, you are reinforcing these neural networks to be more enriched and ingrained. That then represents you as a persona, as a personality, because that's where you're operating from, the new self. Then one day driving home, you get a phone call from one of your colleagues, and they say, guess what, Oscar, we've got a work function, and guess who's going to be there? And they mention this name of a person that you absolutely hate. You hate this person because they took your promotion, they threw you under the bus at the last public speaking meeting, they talked over you, they made it very uncomfortable for you. This person has made your life hell. And now at this work function, this person's going to be there, and you have to interact with this person. And in that moment, you're like, oh my God, I hate this person. I can't, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to put laxatives in his coffee, and I'm going to choke him, and I'm going to end up getting, you start going into all these different scenarios of how you're going to, really traumatize this person because you don't like this person. Now the old self starts to come up, right? The angry, triggered, frustrated self. But then in that moment, you pull over, and then you're like, hold on a minute. I've read this book. I've got to be compassionate. I've got to be forgiving. I've got to change my perception because that's going to change my reality. So then the new self starts to tell you all these things, but the old self's like, oh my God, but he did this, he did that. Why do you want? And there's this confliction between old self, new self, old self, new self. In that moment is when you reprogram the brain. This is when, through your focus and attention, you're either going to now reinforce the new self, or you're going to succumb to the programs and habits of the old self. And we do this all the time when we're learning and developing and we're trying to grow, that there's always going to be a confliction between the old you and the new you. But what you focus on is what's going to reinforce the new self and integrate the new programs to be part of your personality, or the old self. And the more you focus on the new self, and that is, I guess, in a way faking it, because even though you don't want to do it because you feel all this anxiety, hate towards this person, you're like, no, through your consciousness, this is the best thing to do. So you do it. And neurologically, that starts to release a chemical called NGF, neural growth factor. I think it's called NGF. Anyway, it's a chemical that the brain releases that starts to strengthen the connections, through your focus and going, okay, well, I'm going to be compassionate. As much as I don't like this person, I'm going to walk up to him. I'm just going to stick my hand out and say, hey, water under the bridge. Let's start a new chapter, right? But it's not enough just to think it. When you actually go to that function, you have to walk up to that person. You got to shake their hand. And this is when you start to change your reality. This is when you start to change your vibration. You start to take the steps to change your life, right? Because you're changing your you've changed your thoughts. Now we know thoughts drive actions, right? So now your thoughts are changing, and you know what action or behavior to demonstrate. Once you demonstrate a new behavior, because you're not really sitting there in anxiety and not talking to the person, you've walked up to the person and you've demonstrated a new behavior, that's going to lead to new feelings. That's going to make you feel empowered. You're going to feel good. And those new feelings are going to drive new experiences, because you're going to get new experiences because you've changed. And maybe that person's going to be like, hey, guess what? I've got a deal for you. I don't know, but things will change. And then from there, it's going to drive new thoughts. And this is the formula to changing your personality. Change your personality to change your personal reality. So that's a little, I don't know. I hope that example was enough to give you guys an understanding on, I guess, the key to reprogramming, right? Reprogramming the brain. Chapter 10, case studies, making it real. I don't know where it came from, he told me, but it was like someone had turned on a spigot. It shot straight up. The energy came through the top of my head and then moved down through my hands. My palms were face down, yet without conscious control. The energy caused them to lift and turn over. I lost track of time and space and had no idea where I was, but the rest of the meditation, I was in an ecstatic, exhalated, elevated state. Whenever there are these case studies of people healing and transforming, there's always this energetic shift. Now, I've said this so many times, the most powerful creative level of healing is energy. If you get a microscope and you start to go into the human body, okay, you look at yourself in the mirror, you're made out of 1 trillion cells. You're not actually a body. The body is just the physical visualization of how you perceive yourself is a body. But really, the body is made out of trillions and trillions and trillions of cells, which can all be broken down into their own component. We can all agree on that. So as you go into the cells, you start to go into the membrane. Then as you go into the membrane, you go into the nucleus, and you go into the nucleus, you go into the DNA. Then, that's obviously housed in the chromosome, and you go into the DNA, and you keep going. You get into the subatomic realm. The atomic realm. And as you go into the subatomic realm, you see the atoms, you see the electrons, and you go down. Now you see quarks, and you keep going. Then there's this state of matter that is called gluon. And then you go, and there's just this energy. And this is where they get superstring theory from. This is where they get, the theory of scalar lights, and all these different quantum physicists have come up with different theories that at the most fundamental level of creation is this energy. And now they're even going to say that there's some physicists say that this energy is actually binary, and it's actually codes. It's just ones and zeros. But that's a whole different discussion. But the point is, as you go down, there's just this energy. So you are just this vibrational molecular structure of atoms that have been organized in such a way that once light reflects from it, has this physical manifestation of a body. But really, you're just vibration, you're just energy. Sometimes you vibrate high, sometimes you vibrate low, and it's just these different frequencies that you're expressing through this instrument called the body. And you have these sensors that help you process information from a vibrational field to this electrical field, electrical signals going through the brain, which then comes into your CNS, your central nervous system, which is all organized and then projected into what we call reality. When you are sick, in my opinion, not an expert, when you're sick and you're upset and you're suffering all the time, suffering. And it may be justified in your brain. You may have a 1,000 reasons why you are suffering. Because my mum never loved me. My mum was horrible. Or you might say, my partner was toxic. She was narcissistic. And now I feel like this. Whatever it may be that you justify, your body doesn't care. Your body does not care. It doesn't know the difference between you running from a pack of wolves or you sitting there romancing the past because you went through a bad breakup and now you can't get out of that vibrational state. It just knows suffering. So you're sitting there in this suffering state. What's that doing to your vibration? It's lowering it. And when you're in this lower vibrational state, right? You're more susceptible to pathogens, illness. Your electromagnetic component, your electromagnetic signature is very low. So there's not that much life force energy, prana running through your body, right? Everything is very low. And then even though your energy is low, your body's in this emergency state because it believes it's running from a lion. So it takes all the blood from this valuable area, all this visceral area, all these organs and your colon and your digestive system takes all the blood, squeezes it all out to your extremities because you're in this flight or fight response because your body believes it's in danger. And we do this all the time. We're freaking out over everything. Your body's in this state of danger. What does that do to your nervous system? What does that do to your vibration? It lowers it. So now your vibration, your atoms that are vibrating at a certain frequency, is now change their frequency to match your consciousness, right? Because this is the powerhouse. This controls everything. And your consciousness is saying that you're in danger. And you're anxious and you're stressed and you've done it so well. You've done it for so long that you've mastered it. You no longer have to be anxious. You just are. You no longer have to be stressed. You just are. It's just what you programmed. Now, the outcropping of that could be a genetic mutation, which then leads to an illness, but that's the outcropping. It's no different to how mushrooms are just the outcropping of a poison called psilocybin. The mushroom itself isn't what gives you this amazing, this amazing experience. It's the poison inside, and all these mushrooms have different components from reishi, chaga, but the mushroom is just the outcropping, right? It's just a manifestation, but it's what's inside the mushroom that's allowing that to happen. It's no different to when we get sick. The illness is the outcropping. So the illness is the body trying to tell you, okay, there's something wrong. There is something wrong here. But if you go deep down, I can guarantee you, and this is my opinion, not in all cases, that there is this, there is, there is an energetic there is this energetic shift that is creating some sort of blockage or some sort of pressure in the body that's not allowing you to live in harmony with your mind, body, and soul. Right. And when this starts to happen, then it changes the messages in the body, starts to disturb the cohesiveness in the body, and the signals in the body become a little bit incoherent. And then that starts to create a genetic mutation because your genes aren't expressed healthy. Your genes aren't expressed in a very healthy way because you don't have healthy energy moving through your body. You've got unhealthy energy creating this suffering and this uneasiness. And then when that starts to happen, the outcropping of that is, in my opinion, is a physical symptom. And then we try and heal that with more with drugs, and we try to heal that with surgeries, and we try and heal that. And sometimes it works. Sometimes they have their place and they do a fantastic job. And I'm not talking about all cases. I'm talking about some cases, and I could be wrong. And we try and, our mainstream medical modality system is great for camouflaging the symptoms. It does an amazing job. But to treat the core root of that outcropping, I don't think it's actually implemented quantum physics and electromagnetic energy and energy psychology yet into the healing modality. So when you try and heal something that's happening on an energetic level with something physical, yeah, it might cure the symptoms, but it's not going to cure the cause. And I know some of you guys here will agree with me, some may not, which is okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But the healing on an energetic level is the most creative level that translates, because once you can heal the energy, and so often we hear people that are holding on to guilt, resentment from 10s, 20, 30 years ago, and it's creating this sickness. But as soon as they forgive, as soon as they let go, as soon as they let go of compassion and come into a new truth, a new energetic signature, then all these illnesses that was caused by the old personality harboring all this unhealthy energy, it starts to be liberated, and then the body starts to rejuvenate, recharge, and move into a space of healing and growth. So, and when that happens, and so many people, you can go online and type in testimonials from Dr. Joe Dispenza events, and you'll come, after watching 1,000 of them, you're going to come to one evident truth, is that they all healed by moving into a new state of being. And they all felt this energetic shift. And in this energetic shift, there was this level of healing. Now, I am doing a workshop, thank you for reminding me, Elena, that goes into it's a 2-hour workshop that goes into breath work, and through breathing we're going to be moving into a new energetic state. So I'm going to guide you guys through 1 hour of breathing and really be your guide to get you into this new energetic signature. And this is going to be very powerful for emotional healing, releasing trauma, and really connecting to a greater sense of beingness. So anyone interested in that, please check out the workshop on the page. It's going to, and it's different from the breathwork sessions we do in class. They're a bit more shorter. This is 1 hour of you just laying down and just letting go and letting go and letting go of all the shit, all the worry, all the fear, and just healing yourself through the power of the mind, and allowing your body to kind of open up and release this energy that you may be carrying that's holding you back. It's a 1-day workshop, goes for around 2 hours, just for a small price. So if you resonate with this work and you support the channel, I'd love to see you guys there. We want to make it once a month. So we have to get the numbers to make it once a month. So please, guys, join the workshop. I'm going to give everything that I've got in this workshop, and it'd be my honor to facilitate it to those who really want to go deep into their own healing and transformation. But again, going back to what we're talking about, there's always this energetic shift when these people, these participants feel healing. You got to change your energy. You cannot solve problems with the same consciousness that created them, Einstein said, right? Meaning that if you've manifested a certain condition in the body, whether it's anxiety, stress, negative thinking, poor sleeping habits, well, you can't expect all that to change with the same level of mind, doing the same thing, the same thoughts. Everything's got to change for you to then create a new state of being. Rashi says, I am irritated from taking medicine from 4 years for anxiety and depression. I've gone to Delhi in past. In photos, I have talked to top doctors in India, Sami Prakish, but medicine makes me worse. I come past your class 11. I am suffering. Now I come in class 11, but I am suffering from 7 class. Okay, that's good. So that means that you're now doing this the natural way, Rashi, and you're able to now feel more, I guess, lighter and healed from just taking a more natural alternative approach in your healing. I'm not feeling well. I just feel heightened. Well, the most important thing I would say is, reinforcing I'm not well, I am not well is only triggering off circuitry systems in the brain that then start to truly believe this. Now, whether it be your situation or anyone's situation, I think the most important thing for me, what I would do is I would believe that I could heal. Because if once I believe, I've taken the first step, because I believe, and belief is one of the most powerful forces in the world. Because if you truly believe something, it can really shift a lot of energy in the body through personal belief. So by believing that I can heal, it's a completely different affirmation of, and I'm not saying this in your example, I'm just generally speaking, than saying I can't heal, I'm not feeling well. In this moment, my energy is low, but I'm going to do whatever I can to make my energy feel high. And just changing the affirmations and changing our mental construct, being an architect of your own mind, can have such a big shift in the body, because these are all affirmations. Words are sorcery. They really are. They go out into, they go into your subconscious, and they go into a spiritual realm. And I'm not saying they're going to heal you, but just tweaking everything that you can, and again, prevention is a better means than a cure. Tweaking everything that you can in any moment you can is just making you more empowered, right? Because you're always in control and being the best version of yourself. So by changing your affirmations, by demonstrating new behaviors, by having new habits, by doing breath work, by connecting to, and again, everything goes back to the nervous system. 9 times out of 10, and I'm not an expert, when someone is experiencing some stress-related sickness, and most sicknesses, in my opinion, or the majority of them are stress-related, it's the nervous system. The nervous system is just overactive, and that has a direct influence on your endocrine system. Now your endocrine system, which is made out of your pineal, pituitary, thyroid, endocrine, spleen, insulin, pancreas, ovaries, adrenal, testosterone for guys. This hormonal center, when that's out of whack, then it starts to create this, really imbalanced state in the body. And when that happens, all these different types of conditions can happen where doctors have no idea how to heal people from. And one of them being autoimmune diseases. We don't know how to heal that. We just don't, because the adrenal glands are pumping out so much stress hormones because you're so stressed out, because you're stressing out about everything, which then is taking all the energy, all the life force energy into the adrenal glands, which then suppress the thyroid and the hypothalamus, maybe, and all these different other glands, the insulin, type 2 diabetes, or maybe it takes the energy from the other hormonal centers into one center, so they're not working at their most optimum state. And all these different conditions can happen, and the immune system can start attacking itself. Maybe it's just a hypothesis. I'm not saying it's true, but I just feel that your endocrine system is directly connected to your nervous system, which then is translated and influences your digestive system, your cardiovascular system, your respiratory system, your lymphatic system. There's just this cohesiveness between all this incohesiveness between all the different systems in the body. But if we can start to synergize all the systems in the body, then we give our bodies a better environment to heal, right? That's it. I mean, I'm not saying that it'll work, but I'm saying it's a great start, opposed to not doing that, right? So just by bringing your body into balance, by relaxing and changing your mindset. And if you study spontaneous remissions from cancer, which is a field where Dr. Joe and many doctors have studied, thousands of different cases where people have miraculously healed themselves from life-defying conditions. And it's not in all cases. I mean, it's just a very rare few. There's around 5 similarities that they found. And one similarity is that they all realized that they were holding on to some negative energy, right? That was boiling up in their body. It was guilt or trauma or resentment or some sort of negative energy from the past. They all had that. And they realized that they had to liberate that with compassion. So they had to come to peace with that. That was one similarity. The second similarity was that they all believed in a higher power. They didn't have to be God. They just believed that there was a greater intelligence. The third similarity is they all meditated, but when they meditated, 5 hours felt like 5 minutes. So they were able to enter the quantum field and then enter this space. And in this space, they were able to move out of the way and allow this greater intelligence to move through the body, because the intelligence that created the body is the intelligence that heals the body. But if you're always in this egotistic state, thinking, this greater energy can't move through the body. But it's only when we learn how to transcend the analytical mind, we open ourselves to allow this greater energy to move through us. It's always with us, always within us. But most of the time, our energy is scattered here, thinking. But if you learn how to just calm this state down, calm the mind, where does this energy go? It's got to go somewhere, right? It starts to go back into the body. And it starts to do all these amazing things in the body, right? It starts to do all your vital life force energy. But if you're sitting there thinking 24/7, that's why we meditate, right? We meditate so we can learn how to control our mind and channel our energy into our body. And it's so powerful. And that's why one very big, common reason why we all are, members of this beautiful app, this amazing app, is through meditation. Because we all, on some level, recognize the power of meditation. But that's just a word. Meditation is just a word. It's really learning how to channel your attention from the mind inside the body and keep it there. And this is when Eckhart talks about in his book, The Power of Now, flood your body full of attention. That like you could read that whole book, but if you just take this away from the book, it'll transform your life. I guarantee you. Flood your body full of attention. Just sit there and just bring your attention into the body and keep it there. And keep it there and keep it there and just keep and see what happens. Now your consciousness is expanding. And when the mind starts to come in and it starts to pull your attention, no, just keep it in the body and feel and feel and feel and watch your vibration change. This is so healing. This is so powerful. Just try it for 10 minutes and watch what happens. You're going to feel this cocoon around you. You're going to feel this cocoon. You're going to feel this heaviness and things start to change. Your physiological system starts to change because now all your energy is being channeled and introspected within the body, and the cells are craving your energy, your consciousness, because attention is a streamline of consciousness, right? What is attention? It is a spotlight, but it's really coming from this source energy, and where your attention goes, energy flows. You guys know that. So we go within, and when we start to flood the body with attention, and just do that. That is probably one of the most powerful, potent meditations. And breathe, and just give your mind a vacation. And each time your mind comes into, you know, manifestation, thoughts, just understand thoughts only audition. They audition for your attention. That's all they're doing. They can only audition. Your power is in your attention. Bring it back in. Flood the body full of attention. And then that is going to allow you to expand. And in this expansion, this is where you start to transform. It's this, and this is what energy does. Energy is very powerful, but the ego takes it. The ego loves your attention. So 90% of the day, it's just taking your attention and keeping you consumed in these redundant thought processes, redundant thinking over and over again, over and over and over and again. It just hijacks you, keeps you. You're a prisoner because it thrives. It actually the ego. The ego needs attention to survive. Without your attention, the ego doesn't survive. So it will do whatever it takes to take your attention. What is ego? I don't even know what that is. It's just this unconscious self, but I believe, metaphorically speaking, it's this entity. It's like a dark cloud that just loves to take your attention. And when it takes your attention, you're not present. You either focus, you're romancing the past, you're worrying about future outcomes that haven't happened yet, and you're just like in this pendulum state, going back and forth, projecting the future and the past, and you're just consumed. But when you start to bring it back into the present moment, you start to flood it into your body, you start to raise your vibration, and this is when you can still really give your body the right environment to heal. I truly do believe that. Chapter 11, space, time, space. This one spins me out. Okay, so in this reality, we move through space to experience time, right? So from point A to point B, it's going to take you a certain amount of time to move through space. So if I get up and I go to the fridge, point A, point B, I'm moving through space, and it's going to take me 15 seconds. The faster I move to the fridge and back, the quicker it's going to be, the less time it's going to take, right? Because I'm moving through space to experience time. And this is when you start going through time, and you start getting to the speed of light. If you travel in a spaceship and you go to the speed of light for 10 years and you come back, everyone on Earth would be like close to dying, right? Because it's relative to how fast you're going, and that also spins me out as well. But it's because you're moving through space so fast, right, that time starts to change, because time is different for you going through space in the speed of light what time is for me, because I'm not moving at that speed. This is how it works on this domain, in this realm. But in the universe, or when you astral project, or when you dream, or when you leave this planet, what Dr. Joe Dispenza is suggesting, and I do believe him from my own experiences, you move through time to experience space. Think about that. We move through space now to experience time. In the universe, astral world, we're moving through time. So we're moving through time, and space is collapsing. You really got to meditate on this one, because it took me a long time. It blew a gasket in my brain when I first read this. You're moving through time to experience space. So therefore, time doesn't exist, and space is just unfolding. So, and I bring this back to the example of, and I've said this before, Interstellar, right? When Matthew McConaughey, whatever his character's name was in Interstellar, mind you, you're watching that whole movie, it's so boring, and in a matter of 2 seconds, he goes into a black hole, and everything changes for everyone who's watched that movie. He's in the fifth dimension, or whatever you want to call it. See how, he was able to move through time and then go to his daughter's bedroom and push the book out. And in that present moment, the daughter was experiencing, the book coming out of the shelf. That was actually him pushing it out. And it's all kind of connected. So he was moving through time to experience space. And this is why when you dream, you never look at your clock and think, oh my God, I've been here for so long. I've been in this dream for so long, because time doesn't exist. From point A to point B is instantly collapsed, right? There is no time. You're never going to think, I have been walking around in this dream forever. When's this dream going to stop? Time doesn't exist. There is no time when you dream because you're moving through time already. Space is unfolding. This is a really hard one for the brain to process because we're not wired up to think like this. We don't really have the capacity. But once you can really process that, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And that's what it means, that when you become multi-dimensional and you enter this quantum state, you are timeless and space is unfolding. So you can put yourself into an experience, right? And you can start to feel it, and that vibrational match will collapse time, and that experience will find you, because tomorrow hasn't existed. Next week doesn't exist. And through the measurement theory and the act of observation, and if you understand through the model of quantum physics that atoms exist in superposition, which is infinite position of possibilities, and if tomorrow hasn't manifested or collapsed into the one reality, and if I can observe a better future, then maybe I have more power to collapse tomorrow into a future that desires or matches my vibrational match. So if you sit there and you're, again, acting from a place of lack compared to acting from a place of love, that is affecting tomorrow. The results you put in today, the effort you put in today through this energetic game of life is the results you get tomorrow. And that's it, guys. That's all I got. 1 hour. It's finished. Next chapter, next week, pineal gland. We'll go into project coherence, more case studies, a couple more chapters. Thank you so much for being here. I really came to this life super tired. Super tired, but through the power of collective cohesiveness, you guys have given me the energy to present this live to you, and I'm really grateful for that. And thank you for allowing me to express my energy. Thank you, guys. It's been fun. It's also helped me reinforce a lot of things within myself. And half the time when I get into these states, I don't even know what I'm saying, to be honest. It's just coming through me. Thank you, Wahida. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you guys for being here. Really grateful for everyone's attention and presence. And it's been a really fun conversation. If you resonate with this information, please follow our channel to be up to date with more of our lives. Join our Stress Fit group if you want to. If you want the PDF version of Mind Movies, that'll go break it down to step by step. Thank you for the good vibes. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, June. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Sana. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Adelaide, and thank you, Alpha. And the workshop, guys, I really would love for you guys to be there. If you can support the channel, we are trying to do regular workshops, but we've got to sell the tickets to do regular workshops just once a month, just all together, going to a deep breath work session together, and just really healing through breathing and medicine. And I will facilitate it from start to end. I'll just push you guys to keep breathing, and that's really going to help the nervous system. And it's a really small price to pay to really give your body a gift of medicine. I mean, we spend so much money on eating crap and doing all these things that we don't really need. To spend a little bit of just a little bit of money to be facilitated through a 2-hour journey of breathing, I think is a no-brainer. But I'll leave that to you guys. Hopefully you guys can make it. It's a Zoom session, and we're all going to be connected through Zoom, but you don't have to have your camera on. Check out, thank you, Jeffrey, man. Thank you. Check out the workshop on our page. Until next time, guys, stay blessed and keep shining. And remember that you are the creator, and just be very mindful of your emotional diet. Okay. Always feed yourself the good energy and the good emotions that represent your higher self. That's it for now. Oscar from Stress Fit. Until next time, guys, it's bye-bye.